Hello, hello. Thanks so much for joining us today. We have a great webinar planned for you focused all about the NITRO Help Desk 3.5 version. This is our AI-powered support option on Microsoft 365 and Teams. We have a lot of interesting things to share with you, but before we dive into it, I want to go over just a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, we're going to keep things high level today, just give you a little bit of a taste of what we have going on here. I would definitely recommend a one-on-one demo if you'd like to dive into things a little bit more, go a little bit deeper. We can talk about your specific use case, but we'll give you a little bit of a sample today, get a sense of what we're doing here. Also, feel free to ask questions. We do have the question box on the right-hand side of your screen. Go ahead and put those questions in as they come up. And lastly, this will be recorded. So we'll be uploading this to our website as well as to our YouTube channel. And if you've pre-registered ahead of time, we'll go ahead and send you the recording as well. So no need to take notes. Feel free to just drink it all in. So without any further ado, I know we have a lot to get into. I'd like to go ahead and hand things off to Scott Restivo. Scott, what do you have for us today?
Oh, hi. Thanks for the introduction, Krista. Today we'll be showing the NITRO Help Desk 3.5. Ryan and I will be showing this. I'll start out with a few slides, and then Ryan will jump into the demo. As you can see, we're from Crocan Software. We've been in business over 25 years. We have a number of certifications you can see down the bottom. We got to add on the SOC 2 compliance, HIPAA, and all those things too, Krista, to our slide. The list keeps growing. We're in the GSA, California Certified Small Business, the Passport program in New York City, as well as other local programs like that, like in LA and San Francisco and places in Texas. So we got to add on to the slide. But, we're a well-established company, been serving customers for 25 years, have customers all over the world. I'm the CEO. Ryan is a sales engineer, solution engineer, and he'll be able to take you through the demo. What we do at Crocan Software, we have business applications that run in the 365 Teams and SharePoint environments. We have NITRO Studio, our forms and workflow tool. People find that very useful for building their own applications, many different variations of that. We have custom solutions. We work with our customers directly. Sometimes they have a specific solution they want to implement, or sometimes even with onboarding or purchasing, they have particular ways they do things and approval processes and routing of tasks and all that automation has to be done. And so we take what we have already in our applications in NITRO Studio and modify it to be a custom solution. Sometimes we build things from scratch too in the 365 SharePoint and Teams environments. We're doing a lot lately with AI and copilots. It's kind of the latest trend, but there's actually a lot of very useful stuff coming out of that. And we'll show you some things in this webinar we're doing with this NITRO Help Desk, how we added some AI features. The Help Desk comes in standard and advanced versions. The standard has all the features you need, provides the superior support, but without the AI element to it. People, some organizations, I should say, are not ready for AI, they're not ready to adopt it, or they're reluctant to it, or there's some mandate from above, especially in government agencies where they have to go through a kind of convoluted process to get any AI tools in at all. Of course, AI is very broad, and there are different elements of the, GenAI and using ChatGPT versus using local AI stuff. So there's all kinds of different ways. But if AI is not your thing right now, can't do it, you can go with our standard version, fully functional, very useful, very practical, great help desk for in the 365 SharePoint and Teams space. The advanced version gives you all the AI features that we're going to talk about in this demo. And you can move from standard to advanced. If you start in standard, you're not quite ready, then later you say, okay, now we're ready, you can move to the advanced version. Go that way. The standard, and this is a little bit more detailed view of what standard and advanced have in them. Standard has all your, I guess you can call it traditional features: incident, problem, change management, omnichannel support, self-service portals, service level agreements, time tracking, reports, everything you want. Teams app, mobile friendly, everything you'd want in a help desk. And it works perfectly fine. Many people use it, but we've added on in advance a number of AI features. The KB Copilot, where KB is not just being searched, but now it's actually giving these GenAI answers, kind of summarized answers that can be turned into emails, that can be turned into, like like documents or something you can share with people. We have this thing inside the ticket itself. If you're working on a ticket, you can sort of like this. It's querying the Copilot to give you an answer as the staff member of what is a possible answer derived from the Copilot. Right there in the ticket, without having to go out to the Copilot interface. Summarization of a ticket is turning out to be very useful, not only for IT tickets, but also for things like where you have cases of outside of a help desk. You might have a CRM, you might have a patient record, you might have procedural, anything. It can summarize all that very, very much, and that helps with when you have a really long work log or notes in the ticket or whatever. You can generate a ticket. You can generate an email, I mean, from the ticket. Send Krista an email about how to fix how to reset her password, and then generate the email. You can vet it and then send it. Sentiment analysis. People have, if they're in as a sense of like frustration or some kind of problem coming in from an incoming email, and you can take action on that. Auto triage, where you can categorize tickets, prioritize, set SLAs automatically based on the content of the email. Same idea with the first responder. All those things are in the advanced. Of course, that doesn't mean the standard isn't capable and fully functional. It is a very useful program in its own right, but advanced adds more features that make it even more interesting and better. It's built on our NITRO Studio. All our applications are, and it runs in the Microsoft, both versions run in the Microsoft Office 365 with a commercial, GCC or GCC High, and Teams, and we're even working with on-premises. We more on the SE in 2019 these days than 2016, and that's it's already almost at its end of life. So people are on SE 2019, but if you're on premises, then we have the pro versions that run on that also. In advanced, I talked about that already, so you keep going through this slide. And then before we jump into the demo, I want to drill a little bit more. That's, I guess, the purpose of this slide was to again highlight these features and then just talk about a little bit more. I wanted to talk about the NITRO Copilot in general, just briefly, segue a little here away from help desk into this idea that Copilot can be used in many, many situations where there's a document library or a set of lists or a set of data. And we take that with our capabilities inside of our NITRO Studio, pull the information out, extract it, put it into a vector database, what is called a search index, you might call it, but something that LLMs can use. Now, this is only for internal targeted enterprise data. It's not going out sharing the data with the larger LLMs out there at all. It's all kept within your organization, and it uses Microsoft Azure Search Index, Azure OpenAI, and Microsoft has a number of documents and white papers on how they don't read your data, they don't use it in training, they don't share it with anybody else. It's kept in your Azure, your search index, and our Copilot will read it. So we take it from your SharePoint libraries or lists or whatever data source, put it into that Azure search index. That's through our workflows. And then once it's in there, there's an interface we have called the NITRO Copilot, and Ryan will show you some of that with the KB Copilot, where the users can have prompts and then get responses back. And the point I'm trying to make here is that can be used not only for KB inside a help desk, but people are using it for research documents, they're using it for HR documents, they're using it for a number of procedural documents, sometimes in healthcare, if there's guidelines for caregivers, if there's government regulation, all kinds of stuff where you can take data, put it into a vectorized data, vectorize it into these databases. It's just a term they use in AI where you take it from its raw content into content that copilots can use to determine the best summarization and response based on your prompt. And that all sits inside your targeted data. Here we go, the targeted data set, not the open data set. It uses the targeted data set, a specific set of data that the Copilot runs against. So you can really control what information is out there and not worry about biased, outdated, or controversial material, because the stuff you're running the Copilot against is stuff that you carefully vet, and even have a document management system on your, say, document library that says, this is approved, this is ready for release, and go from there. Okay, So use cases for this, just to give you a quick example, HR docs, policies, standard operating procedure, employee guidelines, user manual. Of course, the KB is what we're talking about here. So if you do have an interest in that, going beyond the help desk with the Copilot, we can. Copilot architecture, we have the multiple data sources, goes through our Copilot mechanics that we wrote, some code we wrote, user engagement in the output. But we wanted to say that that also works with in our particular KB implementation here in the help desk, the same concept of the architecture, but now the data sources, what said multiple data sources over here, is actually the KB articles. So now we're integrating this into the help desk. We're taking the KB articles, running it through the Copilot mechanics that we developed, giving you a self-service portal, and then the output, and there's a continuous feedback loop to make that even better and better. Reason to emphasize this is that the Copilot is a way to reduce the number of tickets you get and provide quicker answers and reduce the staff and make a better experience for employees. So that's where we're going with AI. We're gonna get in the demo moment. We just one last slide about AI. We have all these in advanced version already. I talked about that, and we're coming out with more and more AI features, creating articles, KB articles from the tickets, identifying similar tickets, using multimodal input, voice and images, not just text, to prompt the Copilot. We can support other LLMs besides OpenAI. We can go with Claude 3 or from Anthropic or other ones, Gemini from Google. We can do we're starting to do things where we're using it to generate maintenance plan for an asset, for example. Or we're using it to generate instructional videos. That's a little bit more in the future, but this idea that I got a printer problem. Okay, here's a generated video from a prompt that will generate a video to give to the user and how to fix the problem. Wouldn't that be cool? We aren't there yet, but we see that on the horizon. And we're going to incorporate that into our applications, including the help desk, so that they can get quick guidance. The whole idea is to make the whole help desk operate more efficiently and more productively and reduce calls and make sure your employees or customers get quicker results, quicker satisfaction, get back to work and improve productivity. And lastly, we're working on the AI agents. There's a lot of work going on with the agentic frameworks, as they call it, the MCP, model context protocol. But I'll get into all the details. This is like the direction we're going in. But if you're just getting your toe in the water with AI, the advanced version is certainly sufficient. If you're not ready for AI at all, then you can go to start with the standard version. Okay, and then I'll pass it over to Ryan for the demo, and we'll go from there. All right.
Okay, I'm here. Thanks, Scott. All right, I got the demo queued. Let me grab the screen real quick.
Yeah, can you grab it or I should pass it over? You
I can, yeah. Okay. Okay, so right now, let me get this out of the way here. All right, so we're looking at the help desk.
Yeah, we see it. It's all good.
So quickly before I jump into the feature set, let me kind of explain how this works and operates. So we have this hybrid kind of platform as a service, software as a service. So what I mean by that is we're actually leveraging your SharePoint environment, your 365 environment to run this help desk. Right, so you can see this is living in a SharePoint site in my tenancy, but when we deploy, it will be inside of a SharePoint site in your 365 or your SharePoint farm. So it's living on SharePoint lists and SharePoint libraries, as Scott mentioned, in the Copilot intro. And then it's also using this NITRO Studio tool set to underlie the application. So those familiar with SharePoint are probably like, this doesn't look like the standard white SharePoint site that I typically use. This is where NITRO Studio starts to come into play, right? So this is our reporting tool. This is called our tiles web part, and they all have a corresponding button here in the admin section of NITRO Studio, right? Here's our reports, here's our tiles web part. So what does that mean? Well, it means that NITRO Studio is included with this application, and you have full control of the application once it's installed, right? So you can make changes to the form, you can add workflows, change workflows, create reports, so on. So it does give you full autonomy of the help desk once it's installed in your environment. Okay, housekeeping. Now the application itself. Focus on the help desk today. We're going to compartmentalize it into typically the three different groups that we deal with in a help desk: end users, technicians, and admins. We're already touching a little bit on the admin side based on the NITRO Studio interface. But to start, we're going to work on the end users, how tickets get in, how they interact with the backend department, what that looks like from a day-to-day end user interface. Now, the one I don't spend too much time on, but I will talk about, is creating a ticket from an email. And this is something that still comes up on every demo that I do, every person that I talk to. Can I, create a ticket from an email? Absolutely, you can. Basically, what happens is it takes the title, the body, who sent it, attachments, maybe the original email, and it parses that into the ticket. Now that's the standard version. And like Scott was mentioning on the during the intro, there's going to be an advanced and a standard. So right now, I'm going to identify what the differentiation is. Here's the standard version. Now, one of the things that is difficult about taking an email and creating a ticket is the workflow behind it, right? So let's say, in the standard version, a ticket comes in and we parse this information, right? The hard part is though assigning a category and an issue type to that particular ticket, right? So let's say this is the email I just sent in, and there's no category, there's no categorization of a ticket, which is how most help desks flow, right? Okay, hey, this person owns this type of request, this category. Maybe we have SLAs based off of that category, right? We'll get into that more in detail in a second. But a lot of the workflow is requiring now the technician to come in and change this, to update this. So as a part of this advanced version, the AI powered version, is we can take the sentiment, we can auto categorize. Well, we'll get into sentiment analysis in a minute, and auto categorize a ticket if the end user doesn't, let's say, put the category on the form, or if they're sending in that email. So if you deal with a lot of email to ticket creation, we can still utilize the full features of the help desk through automation and save time on the technicians having to go in and, like we said, update those categories and issue types. I will say that is a time saver for sure for those still dealing with a lot of email to ticket creations. But like I said, if you're not ready for AI, or Scott said, if you're not ready for AI, just sending an email to the shared inbox will create a ticket. Now, back when I started in the SharePoint world 10 years ago, everyone was all on this idea of a self-service portal. Right? I want to help, I want, an intranet, I want a help desk, I want a landing page. And that concept was pretty much true up until the creation of Teams. And then everyone started to shift into this Teams environment. So basically what we did is we took this concept of a self-service portal and made it a Teams app, navigable in the left-hand sidebar in Teams. So for those who are comfortable using Teams, or those you want to push towards Teams to submit requests, you absolutely can. Now the standard version, here, let me duplicate this tab. This is going to be, again, I'll point out those standard and AI powered versions here as we go through it. The standard version is you're going to give them a ticket form, like, hey, here, fill this form out, and they can submit a ticket through this portal interface, this Teams interface, right? Who are you? What is your ticket? What would you need help? What do you need help with? So on and so forth, right? Here are your categories, here are your issue types. Can't send emails. They hit save, ticket is created. They get the warm and fuzzies, they get kicked to view their tickets, cut and dry, standard self-service portal. Now with the inclusion of the Copilot, what we can do is we can start to leverage the targeted data set, i.e. the knowledge base lists and library living in the back end of the application. So we're going to try to tie these little pieces back to our original PowerPoint. And what the KB Copilot does is it takes this knowledge base and it allows you to identify what is searchable by an end user and what isn't through metadata controlled on a form, right? Who is it? Who's the target audience? End users, internal staff, or both? does it fall under a certain category or issue type? Do we want to tag it, right? Tagging is like any social media thing we're used to now, hashtagging it, right? Descriptions, attachments, wiki content, rich text content, copy and paste, screenshots, so on, so forth, etc. Now, what's nice about this, as Scott mentioned, is that it gives you the ability to review the article before it's published. It sets a next review date, so gives you the ability to keep the content fresh and searchable. So now from an end user's perspective, they can only search these published articles, these articles that have been, reviewed, approved, for lack of a better term, on this front-end Copilot. Sorry, taking water. So for instance, we can set up prompts, like how to set up MFA, or they can just search, how to reset my password. How to reset 365 password. Now, like Scott was saying, as it's searching, there's two different options, and I've had people tackle this in two different ways. So for instance, what we're looking at right here is that this is a targeted data set. This is only looking at those articles that we've created in the help desk for our end users. We want to give them the information that we can control, like how to search your password. Now, from the end user's perspective, they can create a ticket from here. They can start over. They can mark the issue as resolved, right? It gives them that full self-service ability from this portal. We'll mark the issue as resolved. Now, the flip side, if you don't go with the targeted data set and you open it up to the larger LLM, I have had interest there from an IT technician perspective. So as you can see on the back end, we also have a Copilot targeted more towards IT staff, right? So you can query only the KV articles here as well. But now if you want to give your IT staff the ability to search the larger LLM, i.e. the internet, for more broader answers, like a Microsoft outage, let's say, for instance, you can differentiate the front end, what the end users can and can't search, and the technicians. But at the end of the day, we want them to submit tickets, right? So whatever is easier for you guys, or however you want to tackle it. Okay, so we have the Copilot, we have email submission, we have form submission. The last one, to be honest, I get a lot of interest in this, and I think one of my favorite sayings is end users regress back to their lowest level of training. And if people are going to email you, they're going to email you. If people are going to message you, they message you. Like, I get messages all the time asking me to do stuff, Teams messages, right? So why can't we take those Teams messages and create a ticket from a message? So if you have folks who are dead set on messaging you, you can take that message. It becomes the body of the ticket. You can title it, submit a ticket on their behalf, right into the help desk. So it does give you options for ticket creation. Now, and here you go, as the notifications going off, segued into my next piece, notifications. So whenever a ticket is created in the system, notifications go out. That's going to be controlled in the admin section. So quickly shifting our hats from end user to admin. Ticket creation, ticket assignment, ticket resolution, ticket completion. I won't go too far into these because anyone who's worked with a help desk knows that it's a template, it's an email template that goes out to the targeted group on where we are in the ticket process, right? Hey, your ticket's been created, your ticket's been assigned, so on and so forth, right? That's standard, that's out of the box. Now, what's cool about this is that the advanced version can parse the email body, like we talked about for the ticket submission, right? And provide an AI response to the end user. So if you want to automate a response based off of the type of request and the AI sentiment analysis of the email, you absolutely can. Hey, we understand your problem. A technician will respond within X amount of time. That's also a possibility. That's a part of that advanced version. But notifications do go out. A lot of, one of the other questions I get is, how much within Teams can we keep it? You know, I think Teams is becoming the predominant communication method inside of the 365 space. And the answer is very much within Teams. So one of the things we leverage are these things called adaptive cards. And adaptive cards are the ability to send communications through Teams. So it's the same concept you get in an email, right? Like, here's how to reset your password, right? That structure, that construct is also going to be happening inside of the team space, right on cue, right? So any of your open tickets you can respond to as an end user. You can update notes, you can request to close. So if you have people that are comfortable inside of the Teams interface, they can do everything from a communication perspective to your backend staff through Teams, i.e. add notes, update the work log, you know, forgot ABC or XYZ, all through their messaging, their chat in Teams. Same goes for technicians. So everything I'm showing from the end user perspective can also be used for technicians. If you have technicians who are more comfortable updating tickets through Teams chats, I mean, that's fine too. We have a lot of folks that go down that path, primarily folks who are not tied to machine. I don't know, I like my little tasks and my little updates and my drop downs. So I like to work out of here, but if you have folks that are more interested in, you know, on the phone, on the road and updating tickets or requests that way, that's also a possibility from a technician's perspective. Okay, once a ticket is created, if you have a question about ticket creation, feel free to pop it in now. I mean, I'll answer it before I continue on, but now we're shifting out of end user, hey, ticket was created, now to the back end of what happens once the ticket is created, right? We've talked about the submissions, we talked about the notifications, now the workflow aspect. So when a ticket hits the system, I'll give you a second to submit any questions. I'll slow down. Okay, cool. Okay, so once the ticket hits the system, what happens, right? And it's ticket routing, ticket assignment. And I will say, you know, there's no cut, dry, standard way that people route tickets. I mean, we deal with folks who are 1 to 2 person IT teams all the way to, you know, 20 plus technicians. I think even at one point in time, 100 plus technicians for a certain customer. So kind of anywhere in between, right? And the ability to assign tickets reflects our customer base, meaning it can be very simple and straightforward. Let's say a ticket comes in and you see that a ticket's unassigned and I'm in my workspace. I can quickly grab the ticket, self-assign it, or I can assign it to someone else. Right? So if you have kind of that triage methodology where you take them as they come, that's definitely a possibility. And if you wanted to get into more complex routing, that's also possible. I touched on it briefly earlier, but this is an example of how we can go about that. Owning categories or subcategories. It can be a staff, a team member, category owner, right, for both types. We can also set up a staff list. And then based off of the staff list, the category list, we can identify ticket assignment. So is it a combination of all three? Is it one or the other, right? Is it none? And then do you want a round robin? Do you want a load balance, right? So if I go in a little deeper here, so let's say, you know, we have John has 27 tickets and Maria has 13. Well, maybe John owns the network category and there was 14 tickets coming in for networking, right? So maybe I don't want a round robin because John may be next up and I don't want John to be overloaded. I want him to solve the network issue. So maybe we shift to load balancing, which means that, oh, wrong tab, Maria and Joe will get the tickets until the ticket count is somewhat comparable, right? However, if a network ticket comes in and it is relating to, you know, the request that John's working on, we can override that load balance to make sure that the appropriate ticket ends up in the appropriate queue. Like I said, very simple, to basically anything under the sun for ticket assignment. Now, once it ends up in the ticket in the queue, it hits your dashboard. We have a few different dashboards. You know, we have the individual technician's dashboard, which we're looking at right now, and we have the manager's dashboard. Manager's dashboard is going to be higher level, report heavy, you know, open, unassigned, needs attention. Needs attention is a ticket that's been responded by the end user, responded to by the end user. It needs to be updated by the technician. And then all of our reports. Series reports like incoming tickets, open and closed by week, tickets by staff, by status, right? Getting down into ticket load, ticket trends, ticket performance. I'll come back to this in a second because there's some new reports here that I want to cover that we'll go into more detail. So we'll focus more on the staff workspace for right now. This is my life, right? This is me on a given day. This is what I have to deal with. And I will say, like, this is something that I've given a lot of feedback on in our product because this is a very similar dashboard that I work out of in our internal space. It's, you know, what I have do, what needs my attention, right? All of this is through years of work on in a dashboard, right? I want to see what's equal to me. Now, working on the request is pretty straightforward, right? I mean, we want to see what was said. I'm talking about the standard version. Talk about the advanced version here in a second. Standard version of, you know, what did they say? Who's assigned to the request, work log, etc. You know, like the way that we close out tickets are going to be updating of status, like any ticketing system you worked with, or, you know, any kind of workflow that you've had in the past, working through the status until we get to resolved. Now, the AI version, the advanced version, gives us the ability to create AI summaries of the ticket. This comes in handy when you're getting long in the tooth in a particular ticket, or I mean, it just comes in handy, honestly, at any point in time for a quick synopsis. But let's say you've had 20 messages back and forth between you and an end user, and you want an overview of what's going on with this particular request, right? Where are we from? What's the issue? What are the steps taken? What outcome, right? And pending actions for me, the technician. We also have this AI assistance as well. You know, and I've been playing with this more and more over the last weeks, and you get tired as a technician or as someone dealing with whether it be, you know, end users or customers, and you're like, I don't kind of get that, what do I type mentality. It does give you the ability to have content generated for you, right? Hey, this is what you should, this is how you should respond to the end user regarding this problem. And I don't, you know, sometimes I copy and paste it word for word. And I'll take this and, you know, slam it into the work log and shoot it out to the end user, which is nice. Sometimes I'll start on my own, like I'll start typing on my own, you know, please, check Visio again. And I'll have the ability to just double check my work. You know, maybe this is something I run into a lot internally, like maybe I wasn't clear enough. Maybe I need to add more notes to this. I could be more thorough, and we also have that ability, right? Hey, dummy, you shouldn't just say check it again, right? You should say this, right? So it does give us the ability to add, to bolster our response, to give us a baseline on how to respond to an end user, right? And I think that in itself can't be understated how time-saving, you know, this tool set can be. It just gives us a jumping off point to an end user. And that's the advanced version from the standard, right? Now I will say, we do get a lot of email communication still, and any outgoing or incoming email related to the ticket will be amended to the ticket, right? So when an end user responds to the initial auto-generated notification. It'll store in the email history here. You can also send emails from a shared account or from your own personal email to the end user related to the ticket. We have these different mail templates that we can create, which is nice. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know, I use them all the time. I have standardized templates that I respond with, you know, like booking time with me or scheduling demos, right, whatever it may be, that I copy and paste into the body of, you know, my internal tasks. And this is a standard version. You hit send. Again, that email gets saved to the ticket. I can see their response if they respond. But similarly, I'm sure for those who have a keen eye, just like I was talking about with the AI assistants, I can also use this feature and generate an AI email. It's going to be very similar to the, you know, to the AI assistants I was just showing in the body of the ticket in the work log. But it's going to give me, again, a jumping off point for an email, right? So mine would have been a sentence, right? But this gives me the ability to replace the body, maybe make some changes because it's not perfect. Okay, dear John, no, not writing a dear John letter. But here you go. Now I can walk through this, make changes, updates, right? Best regards, your name. You know, maybe I'll pop in it says my name here at the bottom, so maybe I'll clean this up. But now I've created a comprehensive email with, you know, clear marching orders that I can send, append to this ticket automatically, and gives me the ability to cut down on time and send a clear message. So I do think that, again, the standard to the advanced, you can get by with the standard and your automated templates, but this does give you the ability to create that content on the fly and send a nice email with the two. Okay. I will say this. I didn't say, let me make a clarification. You can do either. So I prefer to update the work log to notify the end user, to notify the requester, right? You can do one or the other or both, send email or update the work log. You can see all of this writes back to the work log on the ticket. Now, working the request, like I said, is shifting through statuses. But we do have, if I can toggle back to the manager's dashboard real quick, we do have SLAs, due dates that are auto-created when these tickets are created. And we can track those through reports, through dashboards internally, but how are those tracked? Right? Tickets overdue by week, breach by staff, by category, by priority, right? By status. So what this is keying off of is a utility inside of our product app, SLAs. And this is something that SharePoint doesn't do out of the box. So this is a nice feature add that Procanian's added to the SharePoint space. What this does, it gives you the ability to create SLAs based off of either like a default policy. Hey, if this ticket comes in, respond in 15 minutes if it's a high, 6 hours if it's a low, and resolve in this time. Or you can make it conditionally, you can create conditional workflows based off of the type of the ticket. Hey, if it's a network issue, right? Then I want to respond in 10 minutes regardless. If it's a network issue and it's coming from like our CEO, like Scott, then I want to do it in 5 minutes. I want to respond immediately, right? So I could just type in Scott's name. And now I have my blanket policy, or I have my specific policy based on the content type and the ticket, and it all ties back to this due date, and it all ties back to these reports. It gives you the ability to connect the dots there. About when you're ready to resolve the request as a technician, close this bad boy out, please see notes in work log, and the ticket is now shifted to resolve. The end user gets notified, it's off the text queue. If you do get, okay, so that's tickets. Take a pause, take a breath, that's ticketing, right? Ticket comes in, it gets assigned, notifications, whether it's standard or AI specific, all the way to the completion of the ticket. Now I'm going to shift into problem management, handling multiple tickets. So if there's any questions about the ticketing workflow, put them in the chat. I'll answer them as they come. Now shifting to problem management. So this is, I think, my favorite feature in any of the applications that we do get is the ability to handle multiple tickets at once. So let's say this server downtime, right, urgent. We get what, 4 tickets related to it. What I can do is I can identify this ticket as the base problem, right? Hey, there's a problem with server XYZ. I blocked pop-ups. Sorry. Let's try that again. It's okay. We'll shift to problems. I forgot I blocked pop-ups on my incognito window. Bear with me here. Let's go to the main problem itself. Let's go to the main dashboard itself. Talk about it. So you can create a problem from a ticket. You can create a problem in its own right. Right? Either or. Now let's say we'll just pick one. Let's say this problem is going to be our server problem. Server down. What's nice about this is that now this becomes the parent ticket. Right? This server down becomes the parent ticket to any ticket opened up or any ticket related to the server issue. So now what I can do is I can go through and I can identify any open ticket related to it. Right? I can scroll through and say, oh, okay, you know, server downtime, server downtime, server downtime, right? I'll go through and just click a few. These 5 tickets are related to this problem. So now as a technician, I don't have to go through and individually update those tickets. When the problem closes, the subsequent child tickets will close and users will be notified that their problem has been solved. And the nice thing here too is that you can create messaging to notify the entire staff that, hey, we're aware of this problem. So you have the ability to be proactive as well as reactive when you have multiple tickets open up against the same problem type. Super helpful, super handy. Gives us the ability to manage this like a mini project, right? Hey, these are all the tickets associated to this particular problem. I can keep track of my notes. I know that all these tickets are related to it. Here's my work log. I can farm out tasks to other employees related to this request as well. And now this becomes my, like I said, my parent ticket. Okay. Next workflow is change management. Very similarly to problem management, we can create a problem from a ticket or in its own right. I will say this is like lightweight change management. So let's say we want to create, this ticket's going to be the base for the change, or I can create a change from the form itself, either or. Really what we're doing is I'm going to go to the dashboard. Really what we're doing is we're identifying that something needs to be approved, right? We need to capture metadata and have an approval in place here for this particular change type. So I've seen people use this as full-blown change management in their help desk. I've also seen people use this as an approval process for a slew of different things. It's kind of up to you on how you want to do this, but let's say like I need global admin access, a great one. Here's the details, right? Here's the, I can go through and I can start to add the content of the details, like what are the affected components, none, what's the risk, Ryan could break everything. Right? Now, once we hit submit for approval, what this does is it queries this list living in the back end, like shifting our hats back to the admin personality. And what it does is it hits this request approvers list. And based on your request types, you can, air quotes, and you can't see me, but air quotes, hard code an approver like John or Joe or Maria, or you can follow a stepped approval process. And it can be based off of attributes in Active Directory, columns captured in the SharePoint form, right? Like managers, things like that. And it can follow a multi-step level approval process. And the nice thing about this is that it also gives you a bit of flexibility in terms of how things can be approved. So going back to our change request form here, my CRM access, you're going to see that there's 2 people for level 1, right? So now here, by parsing this out into a separate list, an approved task list, we have the ability to determine what this approval workflow looks like. Do both need to approve? Does one need to approve, right? If it's a grouped approval, like 5, do we need to have the majority, right? And then is level 1 2 people, is level 2 3 people, right? It gives us the flexibility to flesh out the approval process to match your internal requirements. Now, when you're assigned an approval task, you'll be notified. And then the folks like me want to come in here. Let me reassign this to myself so you can see it. The folks like me will want to come in and complete the task. Like, I love a task completion, love it. And I can say, oh yeah, this is approved, or this is denied, or whatever, right? Other folks can come into the portal. You'll be able to see your approvals through here. Like, update your approvals, right? Here's my little approval. Something that we also do in purchasing, which I've seen others apply to their help desk, is you can have an approval done through email. Something like this, where you can approve, in this case, what is a purchase for a laptop? No, some items, and you can approve that decision through email. Most folks tend to go this route, I'll be honest, but it does give you the ease of use to updating these approval tasks related to the change request in the back end. Okay, so we got 10 minutes. Any questions related to change requests? Again, pop them in. I'm going to talk quickly about the reports, because the reporting updates we made to the new tool is super cool. So I talked about the standard reports already. So if you're getting the standard version, we have made, this is what the report dashboard will look like: open and closed, ticket trends, ticket performance. How quickly does it take to respond to a ticket by type, by category, by staff, reopens, count by staff, right? It does give you pretty healthy metrics relating to reports. SLAs we talked about, and then surveys if you want them. Go out on every nth ticket. I think it's 7 out of the box, but you could always change that. And it gives you the ability to see the responses on the survey. Now, the new reporting metrics, super cool. So I can see tickets created by category through a period, like current period. I can select a range like day, week. I can look at the previous period, previous week. I don't create any previous day, right? So it gives me the ability to really specify how I want to see reports by category, by month, by issue type, by department of requester. This one was requested pretty frequently in the new version of the help desk. Sales is submitted 17, marketing is submitted 11, and at any point in time, if I want to, I can drill down and I can see these, see these 17 tickets. I can export them to PDF. I can email them to their department head, right? So on and so forth, but closed by category, closed by issue type, closed by department of requester. So it gives you that ability to easily kind of shift through tickets based on metrics capturing in the ticket. So a lot of this is based off of the schema, right? Like department or category, and these are going to be reflected on your category types. Gives you an idea of what you can see here at the bottom, right? Slow connection, laptop, right, etc. And the same goes for problems and change requests. So we've given you this ease of use from a reporting perspective across all 3 major lists in the system. Okay. At the top of the hour, talked about ticket submission, email, Teams portal, KV Copilot, right? That's our advanced version. Messaging in Teams to create a ticket. We talked about sentiment analysis, parsing the body of the email, right? Creating a category and issue type if it does come from an email. We talked ticket routing. We talked working the ticket, whether it be through our standard version, which is creating your own messages, or through the advanced version with AI assistance, also getting requester sentiment, AI assistance built in, closing the ticket, linking a ticket to a problem, linking a ticket to a change request, and finally reporting. Any questions while you guys have me? Anything that you want to talk about or revisit in particular? We have a few minutes that I like to leave open for questioning. Feel free to start to type those out. While we have this time, I'm going to talk briefly about NITRO Studio, the underlying tool set, because it is a big piece of this. But again, fire off those questions related specifically to the help desk while I briefly shift to NITRO Studio for the next few minutes. The tool set is super powerful. I say this a lot, both internally and to customers. The great thing about NITRO Studio is you can do whatever you want. The bad thing is you can do whatever you want. Right, so I gotta find that middle ground, but it does give you the power to make changes to the help desk. So the forms tool, the workflow tool, these are our flagships. You can identify the list you want to change. Like I said, maybe you want to add columns for the tickets list. Maybe you want to add more columns for the change request list. You have the power to do so as long as you're an admin within the system. And it's intended to be very WYSIWYG. I can drag and drop, create new tabs, create columns, or drag over columns. Helps if I click on the right thing. Or I can create new columns on the fly and build out my form within the NITRO Studio toolset. The same goes for workflows. We have a wide array of workflows, or actions, I would say, in our workflow system. We also make it easy to turn on and turn off, like, for instance, the survey feature. If you don't want to send surveys, you can very easily toggle off the survey workflow or toggle it back on at any point in time. If you want to create a new workflow, so like I was saying, we do a lot of actions based on triggers. Select the list in this case. So let's say when an item is created. Oh, let's do it scheduled. Now that's my trigger, right? Now what are my different actions? This is our workflow designer interface. My settings can be, in this case, scheduled, right? Is it every day at 9? Is it every hour? Is it a weekday? Is it the last Tuesday of the month, right? At 9 a.m. And then here are my actions. Something as simple, we talked about a lot of these already. Creating items, sending emails, updating list items, but we also have some pretty cool add-on features, so sending in emails, or sending emails or Teams messages, combine those in my mouth, sorry. But you can also create Teams meetings. This is something, again, I use internally. You can invoke workflows or web services, right? So if you're using Power Automate workflows, you can have those be embedded inside of our tool set as well. If you want to call an API, we had a conversation with another customer this morning about this, connecting to a third-party help desk. It's possible. If you have integrations with DocuSign or you want to create documentation as a part of our workflow tool, you can as well. So really, you have this really cool out-of-the-box feature set, like a normal ticketing system that's AI powered, and the ability to take full autonomy of the tool set as well through this NITRO Studio tool set. So it's very much a NITRO powered AI help desk with the keys to the car in terms of you getting NITRO Studio along with it. I appreciate everyone's time sitting through the demo. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm happy to go through a one-on-one demo. Krista, you're going to be sending out the recording, correct?
That's right. Yes, I'll send out the recording. Everyone should receive that tomorrow.
Fantastic. Anything else you guys want to add before we let them go?
I would just say,
go ahead, Krista.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I would just say, any questions, shoot us an email. We're at hello@crowcanyon.com. And appreciate everyone for joining us today.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. You guys have a great day.
You too. Okay. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.